I found that life doesn't respond to what we need or what we want. Life responds to what we commit to. It responds to the actions we take. In the morning, those first precious hours, that's where the battle against laziness is either won or lost. When you get up in the morning, the first few minutes of your day, that's when you set the tone. That's when you make the decision, am I going to live by design today, or am I going to live by default? Am I going to be proactive, or am I going to be reactive? These aren't small questions, my friends. These are life-determining questions. I learned a long time ago that the start of your day is like the rudder of a ship. It might seem small compared to the whole vessel, but it determines the direction you'll travel all day long. Most people don't realize that. They hit the snooze button 3 or 4 times, drag themselves out of bed, rush through their morning routine, and then wonder why their day feels like they're swimming upstream. Let me tell you something profound. Successful people do daily what the unsuccessful do occasionally. It's not what we do once in a while that shapes our lives. It's what we do consistently. And it all starts with your morning ritual. Now, I'm not here to give you some complicated 27-step program that you need a manual to follow. I believe in simplicity. I believe in fundamentals, so I'm going to give you the morning ritual that has worked for thousands of my students around the world. People just like you who were tired of letting laziness rob them of their potential. The first element of this morning ritual is so obvious that most people miss it entirely. You've got to wake up early. Not just early, but early enough to have time for yourself before the demands of the world come knocking at your door. For some of you, that might be 5 a.m. For others, it might be 6 a.m. Specific time isn't as the principle. You need time for yourself before your day begins for everyone else. You know what most people do? They set their alarm for the latest possible moment. They calculate exactly how much time they need to get ready, commute to work, and arrive just in the nick of time. That's living on the edge, my friends. That's setting yourself up for a reactive day instead of a proactive one. When you wake up with just enough time to make it to work, you've already lost the battle against laziness. You've surrendered before the fight even began. But when you wake up with an hour or even 2 hours to invest in yourself before the workday begins, now you're taking control. Now you're being proactive. Now you're setting yourself up for success. I remember talking to a young man who told me he just couldn't find time to read, to exercise, to plan his day. I asked him what time he woke up. He said 7:30 a.m., just in time to get to work by 9. I said, there's your problem. He looked at me like I was from another planet. But 6 months later, after committing to waking up at 5:30 a.m., he had read a dozen books, lost 20 pounds, and gotten a promotion at work. The difference. A simple decision to conquer the morning. The second element of this morning ritual is hydration, not coffee, water. When you sleep for 6 to 8 hours, your body becomes dehydrated. Most people reach for coffee first thing in the morning, which only further dehydrates them. Instead, make it a habit to drink 16 to 20 ounces of water as soon as you wake up. This simple habit will energize your body and mind in ways that will surprise you. I once had a gentleman come up to me after a seminar and say, Mr. Rohn, I've been struggling with energy for years. I've tried everything, different diet supplements, you name it. But when I started drinking water first thing in the morning, everything changed. Such a simple thing, but most people never do it. The third element is movement. Your body was designed to move, not to be sedentary. When you exercise in the morning, even if it's just for 15 to 20 minutes, you're sending a powerful message to your subconscious mind. You're saying, I am in control, I am disciplined, I do what needs to be done, whether I feel like it or not. Now, I'm not saying you need to run a marathon or lift heavy weights. That's not the point. The point is movement, walking, stretching, yoga, calisthenics, whatever works for you. The key is consistency, not intensity. 15 minutes of exercise every morning is better than 2 hours once a week. I remember a woman who came to one of my seminars. She was about 60 pounds overweight and told me she had tried every diet under the sun. I asked her, what about exercise? She gave me all the usual excuses, no time, too tired, don't know what to do. I challenged her to commit to just 15 minutes of walking every morning for 90 days. She reluctantly agreed. 3 months later, she sent me a letter with a photo. She had lost 30 pounds. But more importantly, she wrote, Jim, for the first time in my life, I feel in control. When I start my day with this small victory, it carries over into everything else I do. The fourth element of this morning ritual is feeding your mind. Most people immediately turn on the news or check social media, filling their minds with negativity and distraction before the day even begins. Instead, I want you to invest at least 15 minutes in reading something that will improve your mind, expand your thinking, and feed your spirit. It could be a self-development book, biography of a great individual, spiritual text, or anything that elevates your thinking. The key is consistency. 15 minutes a day might not seem like much, but over the course of a year, it adds up to over 90 hours of focused learning. Think about that. 90 hours of personal growth that most people never experience. I've often said that formal education will make you a living, but self-education will make you a fortune. And when do you invest in that self-education? In the morning, before the demands of the day consume your time and energy. I met a truck driver once who told me he had transformed his life through books. He said, "Mr. Rohn, I drive 10 hours a day, but I read for 30 minutes every morning before I start. In the last 3 years, I've read over 100 books." He went on to tell me that he had started his own logistics company based on ideas he had gathered from those books. He now employs 20 people and has a 7-figure business, all from a simple morning habit of reading. The fifth element is strategic planning. Most people start their day in reaction mode. The alarm goes off and they immediately start responding to whatever comes their way. Emails, texts, family demands, work emergencies. But what if you took just 10 minutes each morning to plan your day strategically? I'm talking about identifying your top 3 priorities, the things that will move your life forward in a meaningful way. Not your to-do list with 25 items that never gets completed. Just 3 key priorities that you commit to accomplishing no matter what. When you plan your day in advance, you take control. You become proactive rather than reactive. You focus on what matters most instead of getting caught up in the urgent but unimportant. I had a client who was the CEO of a medium-sized manufacturing company. He was constantly putting out fires, working 70-hour weeks, and feeling like he was falling further behind. I taught him this morning planning ritual, and within 60 days, he had cut his work week to 50 hours, increased company profitability by 22%, and most importantly, started having dinner with his family every night. The difference? 10 minutes of strategic planning each morning? The 6th element is visualization. This might sound a little mystical to some of you, but I assure you it's grounded in solid science. Take 5 minutes each morning to visualize yourself succeeding at your most important goals. See yourself completing those 3 priorities you just identified. Experience the feelings of accomplishment and progress. When you visualize success, you program your reticular activating system, the part of your brain that filters information, to look for opportunities that will help you achieve your goals. You prime your mind for success before your day even begins. I worked with an Olympic athlete who told me that visualization was the key difference between winning and losing. She said, "Jim, everyone at that level has talent. Everyone has trained hard. The difference is mental preparation." And that's true not just for athletes, but for all of us. The battles of life are won or lost in the mind before they're ever fought in the real world. The 7th and final element of this morning ritual is gratitude. Before you dive into your day, take just 3 minutes to express gratitude for what you have. It could be through prayer, meditation, or simply writing down 3 things you're thankful for. Gratitude is the antidote to laziness because it shifts your focus from what you don't have to what you do have. It moves you from scarcity thinking to abundance thinking. And when you operate from a place of abundance rather than scarcity, you naturally become more productive, more creative, and more resilient. I remember talking to a gentleman who had lost everything in a business failure. He was depressed, unmotivated, and struggling to get out of bed in the morning. I suggested he start a gratitude practice as part of his morning ritual. He was skeptical but agreed to try it. 6 months later, he had launched a new business, rebuilt his financial foundation, and restored his relationship with his family. He told me, "Jim, when I started focusing on what I still had rather than what I had lost, everything changed. My energy came back. My creativity returned. Even my sense of humor came back." So there you have it, a 7-part morning ritual that will absolutely destroy laziness. Wake up early, hydrate, move your body, free to your mind, plan strategically, visualize success, express gratitude. Now let me anticipate what some of you are thinking, "Jim, that sounds great, but it would take over an hour. I don't have that kind of time in the morning." My answer to that is simple. You don't have the time not to do this. When you invest in yourself first thing in the morning, everything else in your day goes better. You're more efficient, more focused, more creative, and more resilient. That hour pays enormous dividends throughout your day. But if you're still resistant, let me offer you the minimum effective dose, 30 minutes. Drink a glass of water while you do 5 minutes of stretching. Rep for 10 minutes. Plan your day for 5 minutes. Visualize for 5 minutes. Express gratitude for 5 minutes. Even that abbreviated ritual will transform your mornings and by extension your life. You see, the battle against laziness isn't won once and then you're done. It's a daily battle. You've got to win it every morning. That's why this ritual is so powerful. It gives you daily victories that build momentum. Now let me tell you something important. Don't expect this to be easy at first. Your body and mind will resist. That snooze button will be very tempting. The warm bed will call your name. That's normal. That's part of the process. I remember when I first started waking up early to work on myself. It was painful. I'm not naturally a morning person. I had to set 3 alarms. I had to put the alarm clock across the room. I had to splash cold water on my face. But you know what? After about 21 days, something magical happened. I started waking up naturally before my alarm. My body and mind had adapted a new pattern. That's the power of habit. At first you make your habits, then your habits. The discipline becomes automatic. The resistance fades away. What was once difficult becomes easy, even enjoyable. Here's another insight. Most people overestimate what they can accomplish in a day and underestimate what they can accomplish in a year. This morning ritual might not seem transformative after 1 day or even 1 week. But practice it consistently for a year, and your life will be unrecognizable. Think about it. 1 year from now, you will have invested hundreds of hours in your physical health, mental growth, strategic planning, and spiritual well-being. How could that not transform your life? It's like compound interest for your personal development. I want to address another objection I often hear, but Jim, what about night owls? I'm just not a morning person. I understand that. I've heard it many times. And yes, there are differences in our natural chronotypes. Some people naturally function better in the morning, others in the evening. But here's the reality: the world runs on a morning schedule. The most successful people I've met over my decades of studying achievement are, almost without exception, early risers. There's a reason for that. The morning hours offer something the evening hours can't: a fresh start, uninterrupted time, and the opportunity to set the tone for your entire day. So even if you're naturally a night owl, I encourage you to experiment with becoming an early riser. Give it 30 days. You might be surprised at how your body and mind adapt. Another question I often get is, Jim, what if I miss a day? What if I oversleep or circumstances prevent me from completing my morning ritual? My answer is simple. Don't miss 2 days in a row. Everyone falls off track occasionally. The key is getting back on track immediately. I've noticed that the most successful people aren't necessarily those who never fail. They're the ones who recover quickly from failure. They don't let 1 missed morning turn into 2, into a week, and a week into abandoning the ritual altogether. Remember, we're not aiming for perfection here. We're aiming for progress. If you complete this morning ritual 5 days out of 7, you're still far ahead of where you would be without it. Now, let's talk about something important: technology. Most people reach for their phones first thing in the morning. They check emails, scroll through social media, or read the news before they've even gotten out of bed. This is a recipe for reactivity. It puts you immediately in response mode rather than creative mode. I want to challenge you to keep your phone out of your bedroom entirely. If you use it as an alarm, buy a regular alarm clock. Don't look at your phone until you've completed your morning ritual. This single change can dramatically increase the effectiveness of everything we've discussed. When you start your day by looking at your phone, you're essentially saying, the most important thing in my life is responding to what other people want from me. But when you start your day with this ritual, you're saying, the most important thing in my life is becoming the person I'm capable of becoming. Let me share something personal with you. When I was younger, I struggled with consistency. I would get excited about personal development, throw myself into it completely for a few weeks, and then burn out and abandon it altogether. It was a cycle of enthusiasm followed by disappointment. What changed everything for me was understanding the power of small, consistent actions. I stopped trying to transform my life overnight, instead focused on winning the morning every morning. That shift in perspective from revolution to evolution made all the difference. And that's what I'm offering you today, not a revolutionary program that will require Herculean willpower, but an evolutionary process that will gradually transform your life through the power of compound interest. Let's talk about another dimension of this morning ritual: the night before. You see, winning the morning actually begins the evening before. If you stay up late watching TV or scrolling through social media, you're setting yourself up for failure. You're sabotaging tomorrow's success for tonight's momentary pleasure. I suggest setting a firm bedtime and sticking to it. For most people, that means going to bed by 10 p.m. if they want to wake up at 5 or 6 a.m. rested. Again, this might not be easy at first. Your old habits will resist. But remember, short-term discomfort leads to long-term freedom. I also suggest creating a simple evening ritual, perhaps 15 to 20 minutes of reading, journaling, or reflection. Avoid screens for at least an hour before bed if possible. Let your mind and body wind down naturally. One of my clients, a high-powered attorney, told me that creating a bedtime ritual was even more challenging for her than the morning ritual. She was used to working late into the night, then falling asleep in front of the TV. But when she committed to a consistent bedtime and a brief evening ritual, she found that the quality of her sleep improved dramatically, which made her morning ritual much easier to maintain. Now, let's circle back to the main purpose of this morning ritual, destroying laziness. Laziness isn't just about physical inaction. It can manifest in many ways: procrastination, distraction, busy work that avoids the important tasks, making excuses, settling for less than your best. This morning ritual attacks laziness on multiple fronts. It builds physical energy through hydration and movement. It cultivates mental clarity through reading and strategic planning. It develops emotional resilience through visualization and gratitude. When you're operating with physical energy, mental clarity, and emotional resilience, laziness simply can't take hold. One of the most powerful aspects of this ritual is that it builds momentum. When you win the morning, you tend to win the day. Those early victories create a positive spiral that carries forward into everything else you do. I once worked with a sales team that was struggling with motivation and consistency. Their results were erratic, some great days followed by several poor ones. I taught them this morning ritual and had them track their results. Within 60 days, their sales had increased by 37%, and more importantly, the day-to-day variance had decreased dramatically. They were consistently performing at a high level rather than swinging between extremes. The leader of that team told me something profound. He said, "Jim, before we implemented this ritual, we were at the mercy of our emotions. Some days we felt motivated, other days we didn't. Now we've created a system that generates motivation reliably day after day." That's exactly what this morning ritual does. It creates a system for generating motivation, energy, and focus. It doesn't rely on how you feel. In fact, it transforms how you feel by changing what you do. Let me address one more objection I often hear. "Jim, I've tried morning routines before. They work for a while, but then I always fall back into my old habits." I understand that concern. It's a common experience. But here's what I've found: most people fail because they try to change too much too quickly and they don't have accountability. That's why I suggest starting small. Don't try to implement this entire ritual overnight. Perhaps begin with just waking up 30 minutes earlier and drinking a glass of water while you read for 15 minutes. Once that becomes a habit, add the next element. Gradual implementation leads to lasting change. As for accountability, share your commitment with someone who cares about your success: a spouse, a friend, a colleague. Better yet, find someone who will practice this ritual alongside you. When you know someone else is counting on you, you're much more likely to follow through, especially on those inevitable days when motivation is low. I remember working with two business partners who decided to hold each other accountable for this morning ritual. They would text each other a simple "done" after completing their routine each day. If either one failed to text by 7 a.m., they owed the other $50. They told me they rarely had to pay up because neither wanted to let the other down. That's the power of accountability. Now I want to shift gears and talk about something profound: the compound effect of this morning ritual over time. Let's do some simple math. If you invest just 1 hour each morning in this ritual, that's 365 hours over the course of a year. That's more than 9 40-hour work weeks dedicated to your personal development. Think about that: 9 additional work weeks invested in yourself. How could that not transform your life? How could that not destroy laziness? How could that not elevate your results in every area that matters to you? I've often said that success is neither magical nor mysterious. Success is the natural consequence of consistently applying basic fundamentals. And that's exactly what this morning ritual is: a consistent application of fundamental principles that lead to extraordinary results over time. I want to share a story about a young woman I mentored several years ago. When she came to me, she was working a dead-end job, struggling financially, and battling depression. She had dreams of becoming a writer but couldn't seem to make progress. I taught her this morning ritual. with a special emphasis on using the reading and strategic planning portions to advance her writing career. She committed to waking up at 5 a.m. and writing for at least 30 minutes every morning before going to her regular job. The first few weeks were challenging. She missed some days. She wanted to quit, but she persisted, and something remarkable happened. After 6 months, she had completed the first draft of her novel. After 9 months, she had secured a literary agent. And after 14 months, she had a book deal with a major publisher. When I asked her what made the difference, she said, "For years I waited to feel inspired before writing. I was at the mercy of my emotions. This morning ritual taught me that action precedes motivation, not the other way around. When I committed to writing every morning, whether I felt like it or not, the inspiration eventually followed." That's the secret, my friends. Don't wait to feel motivated to take action. Take action and motivation will follow. That's how you destroy laziness once and for all. Let me leave you with this thought. Your morning ritual is ultimately about freedom. Freedom from laziness. Freedom from procrastination. Freedom from living below your potential. It might seem paradoxical that discipline leads to freedom, but it's one of the great truths of life. When you master yourself, you free yourself. I believe that inside each of us is an extraordinary person waiting to be released. That person is creative, energetic, loving, productive, and impactful. But that extraordinary person is often trapped beneath layers of bad habits, limiting beliefs, and yes, laziness. This morning ritual is like an excavation process. Day by day, you're digging through those layers, releasing that extraordinary person within you. It won't happen overnight. It's not about revolution, it's about evolution. But if you commit to this process a year from now, you'll look back in amazement at how far you've come. I want to challenge you to make a decision today, not just to try this ritual, but to commit to it. There's a world of difference between trying and committing. When you try, you give yourself an out. When you commit, you remove the option of failure. Make this commitment to yourself. For the next 30 days, I will practice this morning ritual. I will wake up early. I will hydrate. I will move my body. I will feed my mind. I will plan strategically. I will visualize success. I will express gratitude. I will do this whether I feel like it or not, because I am committed to becoming the person I am capable of becoming. 30 days, that's all I'm asking for. Give this ritual 30 days of consistent effort, and it will change your life in ways you can't yet imagine. It will destroy laziness before it has a chance to destroy your day, your dreams, your potential. Remember, success is nothing more than a few simple disciplines practiced every day. And failure is simply a few errors in judgment repeated every day. It's the accumulated weight of our daily choices that determines the quality of our lives. Choose wisely, my friends. Choose the path of discipline, the path of morning victory, the path of consistent growth. Choose to destroy laziness before it destroys your dreams. Thank you for your time and attention today. Now go out there and win your mornings, win your days, and win your life one day at a time. The choice is yours. The time is now. I believe in you.